Hello, Gemini, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of November 2nd through the 8th. During that time, we have a waxing gibbous, and then the full moon, and then the waning gibbous. So, of course, that full moon energy is probably what we'll focus on the most. It'll, for me, that energy can last 3 or 4 days. The full moon comes in 5th, 6th, kind of depending on where you are. But, a full moon, of course, is the time when we can have heightened emotions. We can be prone to maybe feeling overwhelmed or anxious sometimes, maybe snappy and irritable. You might have some changes in your sleeping patterns. I know that happens with me. If I wake up wide awake at 3 a.m. and the moon, the way it comes in just comes right down on my head where I'm sleeping, the light does. I always forget to shut the curtain that night. And it's like, oh, there it is. I'm wide awake. Figures. And a lot of times I'll just get up and make use of that time because I just tend to be very, very energetic during the full moon. So if that's you, make use of that time. If not, you might need to practice patience and calm, but it's a good time for us to release any resentment or fears that we may have and just kind of, just think about positive things. So keep those moon energies in mind as we move through the week. This will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter, Gemini. So, as always, please take what resonates and leave what doesn't on the table for someone else. And your overall message for this reading: take time to breathe out. So, just like I was saying, it's a good time to just release things. So, with that full moon. All right. And as we're breathing out, Gemini, which I love that, just breathe out. Sometimes I've been seeing cards come up with the Moonology deck. It's really funny that I've had 3 cards today that I don't think I've ever pulled on a YouTube reading, and I do these every week. And that's a new one for me too. Take time to breathe out. I feel like we're entering into some new, interesting energies. I know I was looking into some of the astrology this morning that's upcoming for us, and it is very interesting. So if that's something that you're into, go check that out. I'm always learning. So, all right. My fun message for you, Gemini, this week is that you pay attention to the synchronistic things that might be going on. So just take notice of the world around you. This could be an animal that you encounter that you don't always see. It could be numbers or repeating number patterns, maybe a song or a conversation that you overhear. But those synchronicities are ways that the universe communicates with each and every one of us in our own special, interesting way. So that is just my fun weekly reminder, is that you pay attention to those synchronistic things that are happening in and around you this week. So, all right, without further ado, let's get into this reading, November 2nd through the 8th. Take time to breathe out. All right, Gemini, your present energy is the Chariot. So taking time to breathe out also means you're also looking around you for, you're getting ready to make a move. May not happen for you this week, but you're definitely gathering information, kind of picking up steam, picking up that energy. This is a song of, a song. I don't know why I said a song. This is a card. I must have a song on my mind. This is a card of getting ready to make a move. So again, gathering information and also kind of gathering momentum. Must have been reminding me of a song right there. So your current situation, Queen of Cups. So you're very calmly gathering this information, to make this move. And this could be any kind of move. This could be something big, something small. We'll see as the cards come out, but you're doing it in a very calm and understanding way. Whatever this move might be for you. At the root of your situation is that you're thinking about the future. So again, I'm not seeing anything specific yet. This could be anything. This could be about travel. This could be about relationship. This could be about things with your family. This could have something to do with finances. This could be, career related. It could be anything. The 2 is definitely about feeling like you've arrived at a particular place and maybe had some success, and you're just kind of deciding, do I want to stay here, or is there now something that I want to move on, go forward and do? And that's really your decision to make, but that's at the root of this getting ready to make a move. You may have made that decision already. In your recent past is the Wheel of Fortune. So You might have come into some fortune. And this could be, this is definitely just evolving. This is the wheel in the sky keeps turning, and you might just be at a different phase in your life. We all go through this where you enter and exit different phases, and it might just be things that you're thinking about. If you're younger and just getting out of college, you might be thinking about, this is your first job phase. If you've been through that phase, you might be thinking of, this is the time to get married phase. You've got your career going, and that sort of thing. Maybe if you're married, it might be time to have children. So there's natural phases of life. You might be thinking about retirement. So depending on your age, a lot of times it's that wheel that just keeps turning. Just about the time you think, oh, this is my life now, nope, no, things are going to change and you're going to evolve into the next thing. What's on your mind this week is the Empress. So you might be, this is our card of creativity. I always say too, this is our card of pregnancy. So depending on where you are in that life cycle, if this is on your mind, like I said, you might be one of, and you might be someone that's actually thinking about actual pregnancy. But I always like to say with this card, but this is also about making long-term decisions to be creative in a way that is going to be almost, like having a child. Okay. And I mean that in the time and commitment. So something that you would be doing that takes a long time to kind of gestate and come to fruition, and then something that you do have to care for years and years down the road, just like a parent. So but that could be a project, that could be a creative project, that could be anything. I mean, I've related that to like maybe a house renovation that you would decide. That's kind of an Empress kind of decision, that you would, you're going to renovate your house, or you're going to purchase a house that needs a big renovation. That's something, it's going to take time and money, and it's going to take a while for the dust to settle. But it's a big, huge commitment, and a big commitment of time. So that's on your mind this week. So as you go through this evolution and you prepare for this change, you might just be thinking of the next phase ahead, and what long-term creative things, you might want to undertake. What is just ahead of you this week is the moon. So here we come with that synchronicity and that intuition. The moon is our card of mystery, and thinking of, looking for those synchronicities, maybe listening to the dreams that you're having. Pay attention to those. You may be having just intuitive thoughts and things coming up for you, but that's definitely ahead of you this week, that things are going to be coming to you as you are collecting this information and gathering that information. Some of that information is going to be intuitive and very synchronistic. The universe is going to kind of guide you. So definitely pay attention to those messages this week. In your advice position is the Tower. So, and the only way I can say, because this is in your advice position, is if you're in this new phase and you've got this Wheel of Fortune, that you almost have to welcome this disruption. It is a disruption. I don't see this as a bad disruption. Sometimes depending on where this card will fall in your reading, but because it's an advice position, it almost means that the advice is to let it fall. Let the disruption happen that is going to move you into this next positive phase, right? It's almost like it's an ending, and it's kind of a disruptive ending. It may be that you just make a decision that's a little bit more disruptive, than normal. I don't see it as a bad thing, but you're kind of closing a chapter somewhere, and there could be a disruption that comes right along with that. What is beyond your control this week is the Seven of Swords. So, our Seven of Swords is about being cunning or craftiness. This is about theft or hidden agenda. And that's beyond your control this week. That's something that you have zero control of. Now, is that you being cunning and crafty, when it comes to maybe this tower, this thing that's wrapping up for you as you're making this evolution and moving into this new phase? Or is there some kind of hidden agenda around you that you're just not quite aware of? And that's where I would really think about this intuitive message here from the moon. That you need to really trust your intuition, like what's going on around you, and also watch for the signs and the signals, and the universe guides us. And there might be an animal that appears that tells you how to deal with this disruption. What are the attributes of that animal? There could be angel numbers or things that just appear to you that make things start making a little bit more sense. What is your secret desire, or what you're trying to avoid, is the King of Pentacles. So King of Pentacles is someone who is just very knowledgeable about the material world when it comes to, not only finances, but things having to do with, your home, your real estate, your just your material belongings, your car, or anything that you can physically touch. The King of Pentacles is just very knowledgeable about that. I don't know if you would be trying to avoid being that person, or if you just need, if it is your secret desire and it's something that you aspire to be like that. But that'll be your big question of the week is, are you avoiding that energy, or becoming like the King of Pentacles in that knowledge area about money and about the material world, or is that your secret desire? So ask yourself that question this week, and either there's no wrong answer. Different Geminis will answer that in different ways, and then you manage whatever your answer is, that you move from there. In your outcome this week is the star card. So much like the moon, now we have the star card, but the star is kind of a mysterious card too, but it's very much about clarity. Like they say, it's written in the stars. There's a direction that you're going to be taking that just seems so obvious, and so it's a card of clarity. So it's a card of like just being so clear about the direction that you need to go into. It's also very emotionally and materially balanced with kind of reminds me of the temperance card is kind of the same way, with that, the emotion of the, water represents emotion in tarot, and that ability to balance that emotion with the material world and to feed the material world with your emotions. So very interesting, Gemini. I mean, I feel like you are gathering some information, as this evolution comes through. What will you choose as something that's a long term project? Again, for some of you, it may be actual pregnancy. You may actually start a family or add to your family. But it could also be a big creative project that you're just going to put a lot of time and energy into it. In all of this, as you are gathering this information, again, take time to breathe out. We're in the full moon right now. Let these signs and things come to you, and kind of, and be a guidance, and to point you in the correct direction. What is hidden from you this week at the bottom of the deck is the Page of Swords, which is a new path in the way of communication. So I don't see that changing, or intellect. I feel like I don't see you communicating in a different way or thinking different thoughts. This week I do feel like you're in information gathering phase. So let that be what it is. All right, let's get a final word here for Gemini. Final word for Gemini as they're gathering information to take this next step in their own evolution. Like a little change is happening for you. Face your adversaries. And, that could be here, that's with the Seven of Swords. You might have someone around you who has kind of a hidden agenda, and you may need to face up to that, but just kind of be aware of that this week. What does Gemini need to do in the way of self-care? Self-care, November 2nd through the 8th for Gemini. All right, the card that comes up for you is the card that says body. Your body deserves your love. So take care of your body this week. Eat well, exercise well, maybe do some extra grooming things. There's those things that just need to be done. Take care of your body this week. And again, pay attention to your intuition. You might want to take an extra nap. Just make sure you're rested. Again, nice big breath in, and take time to breathe out. I really love that message. I think that's great advice for any of us. So, Gemini, thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope there was something in this reading that you can take away and use for your week. If you're comfortable sharing, of course, drop me a comment down below and let me know, did anything here resonate for you, as you're breathing out and getting ready to make this move, and kind of just take this next step in your life as you evolve into the next phase. So, once again, thanks so much for being here. If you like my reading style, please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps my channel, but most importantly, it'll help you find me next week, where you can come back and see if this message continues or if there's something completely new here for you. So, Gemini, thank you so much. Good luck with this, and see you next time. Bye-bye.